Hey everyone, good morning and good evening. Okay, let's start with today's topic and let's see what exactly we are doing today. Let me know if my screen is visible to you guys. Is it visible? Perfect, thank you very much. Okay guys, so let's continue with this internet. You don't have access. Perfect. I don't have access. Okay, this was the project what we have created, and let's do a quick recap what we did yesterday. Yesterday we talked about the merge type. There are 4 merge type basically. The first one is merge, no fast forward, in which all your history is preserved, and a new merge bubble is created. Squash, the other type. Squash is basically it will squash all your history into one single commit and a new merge will be created. Then we got rebase. Rebase is very simple and straightforward. It simply picks the history from the source and it puts on the top of the destination branch. Then we got semi-linear, and the semi-linear is basically combination of rebase. So it will rebase your merge and top of it will create a new merge commit. So these are the 4 types of merge which you should remember. There will be a question, definitely a question out of this when you're giving an interview. It's not straightforward. They will definitely not ask straightforward. I'm not even expecting a straightforward question. So they may give you in scenarios. Okay. So based on the scenario, you need to think what exactly could be the answer. If I give you a scenario that I need, okay. If I give you a scenario that we have 2 branches, that is develop and release, and I need to pull everything into my release branch, making sure all the history is preserved and nothing is deleted. So in such cases you need to think which merge type is well suited over here. Okay, today we'll focus on there are 2 topics which is left in Azure Repos: cherry picking and Azure Revert. Cherry picking, as I said earlier, it's a concept through which you can cherry pick specific commits. Okay, again a scenario, if you have 2 branches and develop and release, if you follow the pull request funda which we are doing till now, everything will get pulled, correct? When I'm creating a PR, what's happening? Whatever differential changes are there, everything is getting pulled to my destination branch. I don't want that. In my develop there are n number of changes. Okay, out of those n number of changes, only a couple of changes needs to be pushed into my release branch. So in that case we need to cherry pick. Okay, cherry picking, again it's a concept of cherry picking specific commits from your source branch and pushing it to your destination branch. Okay, now we have done cherry picking on the command line with the command git cherry pick. That was the command which we have executed. Now how do we do cherry picking in Azure Repos? Let's go and see that. So for doing that, let me quickly go and create, let's go to your develop branch, 2 more files, not pipeline. Let's go and create 2 more files. Let's name it as cherry pick 1. Let's name it as cherry pick 1. Done, committed. So we got a new commit. Then we got the other file cherry pick 2.
Can I ask a question before we move forward?
Yep, tell me please.
It's actually based on the previous one of the classes we had. So if you're creating a branch, yeah, why is it that it has to assume all the file you have in the main branch? Take for instance, you create a new branch of develop. Don't Can't we create a branch without going through the main branch?
No, there's nothing specific that you have to go into the main branch or anything as such. Branches,
But what,
yeah.
yeah, we had the way it is now. If you create a new branch, try to do a new branch. If you do a new branch, you see everything is based on. You can change it, but so can you do it without it based on any existing branch, like the
No,
way we do it?
so yeah, if you're creating any new branch, it will be based on some other branch. You will not have a
Okay,
blank branch created, anything as such will be done. It will be created based on develop, main, whatever. So the develop, you see develop over here, it is because develop is set as default branch. Okay,
okay,
so that is the reason it is showing you whenever you create a new branch, it is showing develop over here. Okay, now if you change this default branch to something else, like if I'm sending the default branch to the main branch, now if I create a new branch, it will be created out of main. Now answering to
okay,
your question, you cannot create any blank branch. Whenever you create any new branch, that will be created based out of any existing branch of yours.
okay. So it means any branch you will take after your main branch has to first go off the main branch.
Perfect.
Okay, got it.
Okay guys, anyone else has any other question? Uh, did anyone try creating the pull request and tried all the 4 types? Anyone got chance to do it? No
I
one?
actually didn't attend the class, and so yeah, I just have to watch the video.
Okay, no problem. Okay guys, no problem. So
Yes, I did, Rohit. I completed.
Kishore, perfect Kishore, very good. Okay, so we have people around who are doing the things, guys. So if you have any questions, any doubt, please put across in the group chat. And I hope Kishore and all will be, and others who have already done it, they will definitely help you all if you are stuck. Okay, and in case if you need, you can reach out to me directly also on the WhatsApp, and whenever time permits, I'll revert back to you. But it's good if you communicate in the group. Okay, so let's start. I was talking about cherry picking. So if you go to my develop branch and if you see my commit, I got 2 new commits, cherry pick 1, cherry pick 2. And if we go with the traditional approach of creating a PR, what will happen? All these 2 new commits will get pushed into my destination branch, whichever branch it is. What exactly is my requirement? My requirement is out of the cherry pick 1 and cherry pick 2, only cherry pick 1, this file, needs to be pushed into my release branch. That's it, only this file. Okay, if I create a traditional PR and if I put it release, if you see, both the things are getting pushed into my release branch. So this will not work. Okay, this thing will not work. So in such cases we need to do a cherry pick. So let's go to the commits again. Now how do you cherry pick in Azure Repos? So you have to go in cherry pick 1, go over here, there's the option of cherry pick, click on cherry pick. Now you need to select the target branch. Where do you want to cherry pick? So you want to cherry pick to your release branch. Now once you do it, if you see, there is a new branch getting automatically created. So this is the new branch. If you decode this new branch, this is nothing but it's a commit ID which you're cherry picking. Okay, and the other one is nothing but this is your target branch. Why this is getting created, I'll tell you in a minute. So this is what it is getting created right now. Okay, Now if you see closely, eventually it went ahead and created a new pull request. Now the difference is, the source is the new branch which they created, and the destination is the release branch. So this new branch which got created just now, it has only this change, file 1. Okay, now if you see, only this particular file is getting pushed into the release branch. So eventually when you cherry pick, a new branch was created. In that new branch it had only this one file. Now using that new branch, there is a PR getting created automatically, which is pushing changes to your release branch. Okay, now if I come back down, if I complete it, now you can use whatever merge type you want to use, like you want to use squash, merge, no fast forward, it's up to you. Let me squash it. Now see this post completion option, and if you see this delete temporary branch after merging, now if you check this box, what will happen? This temporary branch will be deleted once the pull request is completed. So this is a temporary branch which is auto created, guys, correct? So this option makes more sense over here. If you check this box, so your temporary branch will be deleted and your pull request, your cherry pick will be completed. Now there are two more options: customize work item after merging. So this is your work item. If you want to complete it, like close it, then you can check this box, and there's no work item basically, so forget about it. Customize merge commit message. If you want to have some customized message, you can put your message over here, okay, or else complete it. So I did a squash. Now this is done. If I go back to my release branch, go back to the files, I should see cherry pick 1, only cherry pick 1. So this has been cherry picked. If you go to commits, you can see this commit. It is squash commit, so that's why you don't see any history right now. So this file got cherry picked over here. So this is how cherry picking concept works in Azure Repos. So if you want to cherry pick any specific commit, this is how you will do it. Okay. Now the other part is, how do we revert? So how do we revert in from the command line? The command was git reset followed by the commit ID. That is what we have done onto my local when we were doing things on the command line. Now how do I revert the changes from Azure Repos? Now just imagine this, cherry pick what you did just now. Now this has some issues. Just imagine it's a real-time scenario and your developer cherry picked something to your release branch, and now that piece of code has a bug. Now the developer wants to remove that piece of code from the release branch. How exactly he can do it? So this particular code, just imagine this is the piece of code which the developer wants to remove. How exactly he can do it? So if you go back again over here, there is an option of revert. Now revert, the target branch will be set automatically in revert, because you want to revert things from release branch. So if you see this, the target branch is set already. So you want to revert this commit from the release branch, and if you see this, again a new branch is getting created. Same concept in revert also. Again a new branch is getting created. This is the commit ID, and this is the branch from where it is getting reverted. This is the source branch from where it is getting reverted. Okay, so this is the commit ID. If you go and see the commit ID, this is the commit ID, and you're reverting it from release branch. So this is how revert is done. Again a PR will be created. Your source will be this, your destination will be this. So this is source. So this source has only one change, and do you see this dash, the strikeout sign? This is mean it will be deleted. If you see, it will be deleted, and the highlighted in red and plus this minus sign what you see over here in front of it, that means this file will be removed. This is the new revert which will be created. Okay, now if I just go and create, do a complete, I'll do a squash again. I don't want this branch to be there, so I'll want this temporary branch to be reverted. Done. If I go to files, refresh it, see the cherry pick one file is deleted, the file is not there. And if you go to commits, see this reverted. Pull request 6, if you see PR6 reverted, added cherry pick 1, this is the file which is deleted now from release branch. In both the cases a PR will be created, guys, and this is how things will be removed if you want to remove it from Azure Repos. Make sense? This is two important concepts, cherry picking and revert. If you want to do it, everything happens through a PR in Azure Repos. It is not something you'll do it directly, so everything will happen using a PR itself. Okay, any questions over here? Okay, so if no question, let's move forward. Let's talk about branch policies. Now, when we were talking about the branching and merging strategy, where is the branching merging strategy? Okay, when we were talking about the branching and merging strategy, we talked about that we need approvals. We talked about that we'll do cherry picking. We talked about that we'll do a create a pull request. Will not allow anyone pushing changes from locally and things like that. How exactly will be defining this? Can you stop, like suppose there are 10 developers in your team, and if you tell your developer that dude, you cannot push directly in your develop branch, you need to create a temporary branch out of your develop branch first, create a PR, get it approved by your leads, then merge the changes in the develop branch. Do you think your developer will even listen to you? No, correct? So this is, you need to set up policy and you need to force them that you cannot push anything. What are the branches we manage? We manage develop, main, release and feature branch, correct? These are the branches which is managed by DevOps engineers. Now on these branches you don't want unnecessary pull. On these branches you don't want unnecessary changes happening. So how do you restrict things? You restrict things by using approval, and like I said earlier that from the temp branch to develop branch, if there is anything happening, then it should happen using a pull request, and it should be a squash. The merge type should be squash. And if anything happening from develop to release, I want the merge type to be merge, no fast forward. I want to preserve history over there. And if I'm pushing anything from release to main, I want squash again. So these are my policies. Okay, now when the cherry picking is happening from release to develop to release, then I want the leads, the developer leads and the peers to approve the change, approve that whatever is getting merged to release branch, it's all good, it's all been tested and things like that. These are all my criterias. These are all my criteria which I want my developers to follow. And if I want them to follow anything, I need to make sure those policies are in place, then only they will follow it. Okay, by just saying that dude you need to follow this, they will not follow anything. Let me be very clear, developer will not even listen to you. You have to force them to listen to you. You have to force them to follow whatever policies you are setting up. How do you do it? Let me show you. Okay, let's set up a policy on my develop branch first. So I go to develop branch. If you come down, there's an option of branching policy. Okay, Over here I'm telling require a minimum number of reviewers. Just check this box. So over here you can put how many numbers of reviewers you want. So for now I'm all alone, so I'll just put it 1. I'll be approving this. Do you want to allow requester to approve their own change? So this box should be unchecked, because you cannot let the person who is creating a PR to approve its own change, correct? Other person, a third party person, should come and approve it, correct? But in my case I'll check this box because I want to approve my own change, and there are other conditions which you can set along with it. Okay, check for linked work items. So this is basically, I have not covered work items yet, but basically whatever you do in Azure DevOps, everything should be linked with a work item. Work item is nothing but it's a user story. User story is nothing but it's kind of a ticket which has all the information, what development you're doing, what all things you're doing, and all those information. So whatever you do in Azure DevOps, to be very specific, everything should be linked with your work item. Okay, so what is the benefit of linking? The benefit is, if you go and open that user story, okay, so for now user story is nothing but it's a ticket, guys, kind of a ticket which is assigned to the developers for doing development activities, and those tickets are used for tracking purpose. Just keep that in mind for now. When I cover work items in details, at that time I'll give you more clarity what exactly user story is all about. Okay, so if there is a user story created, then everything should be linked with the user story. Same goes with your pull request. If you're creating a pull request, your pull request needs to be linked with the user story, so that tomorrow if anyone is checking your user story, then they should come to know how many pull requests and what you have pulled, and basically the complete history what you have done till now. So seeing the user story, you'll come to know everything. Okay, so even that is linked with work item is required. You have to keep it required. I'm keeping it optional. Why? I'll just keep it required for now, because we don't have any user story as of now. That is the reason I wanted to keep it optional, but let's keep it required and let's see what happens. Check for comment resolution. Now what exactly is a comment? Now when I say when you are merging your changes with a develop or release branch, your peer, so basically your lead, has to approve that pull request. Now the lead is responsible to give you comments. So whoever is doing the code review needs to go and approve it. Now the person who is doing a code review, he may give you some comments that this syntax is not looking good, or this loop is not looking good, go and make changes. So if you mark this as required, so whatever comment is given by the lead or the code reviewer, the developer needs to go and work on it. The developer needs to fix that comment first, then only he can complete the pull request. So how many conditions? Approval 1, linked work items 2, comment resolution 3, and now this is my develop branch. Now from temporary branch to develop branch, what did I say? That we will need a squash merge. So you can restrict and you can just select squash. Now whenever there is a pull request created between temp branch and develop branch, only one type of merge will be permitted, that is squash. Okay, over here. Build validation, status check, this is part of build pipelines, so we don't have the build pipelines right now, so we'll ignore it for now. Okay, we'll come to this part when we start with build pipelines and release pipeline. Now there are include reviewers. If you want to include reviewers, okay, like suppose I want Rohit, no, Rohit is not there, so Mela DevOps, this person to approve all the pull requests, so I'll add this person as in required. I can even add a group over here. If there's a group you have created, approval group, you can even add group of peoples over here. Okay, so this is, we have set up policy on my develop branch. Now if we go to branches, do you see this icon? This icon means branch has policies. Okay, now let me just delete this. Let me set this as default branch for now. Now let me clone this. Okay, I'm cloning my remote repository locally. Okay, I got the branch. Now by default, if you see, a develop branch was cloned and I got develop branch on my local. This is because the develop branch is set as default over here. Okay, that is the reason. Now let me make changes. Let me just open the cherry pick file and make changes to it. Okay, added new line. Okay, saved it. Let me do a commit, making changes to my existing file, so this works. Updated cherry pick file, done, commit done. Now let's try to push it. Do you see the error? Remote rejected. Pushes to this branch are not permitted. You must use a pull request to update the branch. See this clear error. This is because we have set up policies at my branch level. If the policies are set, no developers can push directly to the develop branch. They need to create a branch out of develop branch, work on that develop branch, create a PR, and there are things which they need to do. Okay, they cannot push directly from the local. If you want to override this, go and remove the policy. If you want to override, which you should not do, but if you want to override in cases, done, which you should not do. I'm just showing you guys, but in reality you should not do all such things.
Can we set the policy on a command line?
Sorry?
Can we set up the policy on command line?
No, command line is something, it's on all local system, correct? You cannot set policies on the command line. So whatever policies you can set, this will be at the remote level. Now at the command line, I've showed you talisman and all. Those are different set of policies which you can set in each system,
Okay.
each computers. Okay. Now this is, I'm talking about remote repository policies.
Okay.
Now how do the developers work? Now you have setting. Now the question is, you have set up a policy on your develop branch that no one can push directly on your develop branch. How do the developers work? So developer has to create a temporary branch. This way they have to create a temporary branch which will be created based out of develop. Now this is a temporary branch. Now they can make changes over here. They can go and add, making changes in cherry pick file, whatever you want to do. Okay, something like this they will come and do, not directly on Azure Repos, guys. So this is just for demo purpose I'm showing you. They will make use of IDE tool like Visual Studio, PyCharm and things like that, and they will do things over there, their development activity using the IDE tool, or they will do it on local. This is just I'm demonstrating. Once they create this branch, they will clone this branch on their local system, they will work, then they will push directly to this branch. The way I did a commit, So if you see this got pushed directly to this branch. My changes are there inside this branch right now. Once they are done with their development activity is done, they can go and create a pull request. Now the pull request will be between temp branch and develop branch. Okay, now they will go and create a pull request. Now if you see this, there are multiple failures. Work item must be linked, the one check. Comment must be resolved. So there is no comment right now. So let's go to the files and let's imagine I am a reviewer, and at the right hand side if you see there is a reviewers required. Without this person's approval, nothing will go move forward. Till the time I don't approve it, this PR will not be completed. Now imagine I am a reviewer, I am reviewing this code. So I came to this line. Okay, I found this is the file which the developer has created, and this is the line what he has added. I come to know. Now over here I go and if I want to give any comments to the developer, I can just simply tell at check the syntax. So I'm giving a review comment that there's an issue with the syntax, go and check it. Done. If I come back over here, now do you see there are two failures? Work item must be linked, comment must be resolved. Now the developer needs to go and resolve this comment first, then only this will get fixed. Okay, and the third is Mela DevopsMela should approve it. Three things. Okay, now just imagine that the developer is in India and the code reviewer is in US. Okay, so the developer has fixed all this, but it's still waiting for the approval. Okay, the developer has fixed all this. Okay, so what he can do is he is still waiting overnight for the approval. Okay, so that is not making any sense. So what he can do, he can set this as autocomplete. After fixing this, he can set this as autocomplete. He can select the score, whatever type he wants, and if he wants to delete his temporary branch, then he can select this, or if you can just set this as autocomplete. Whenever the approver comes in, the approver will just approve it and this will get auto completed, but he needs to fix all this. Okay, the comment must be resolved. Just imagine the developer has fixed the comment. Now you can come down, he can just click on resolve. Once this is resolved, this check is done. The second is work item must be linked. Now I don't have a work item to link over here. Okay, because we haven't created anything in the boards, so I don't have anything. So for now, what I'll ignore this. I'll go to the branching policy and I just make it optional. Okay, I refresh it. Make optional. See, I'm getting an optional. One check failed, but I made it an optional. Now this is set as autocomplete. Now imagine this is all developer has done it. Okay, now the request has been sent to the code reviewer again. Now the code reviewer will just simply come and approve it. As soon as he approves it, see the merge request already started. Automatically it will start. The code reviewer, they don't have to go and complete it, select squash and all, because the code reviewer might not be aware what merge type needs to be done and things like that. Okay, so set autocomplete is a very good option whenever you have such criteria. Now if you go and see, your merge will be done. See this line done. This is how you can set up policies and make sure that those policies are intact. Now you can set up policies for all your branches, guys, depending upon what type of policies you want to do, what all things you want to do. You can set up policies for all your branches. Okay, makes sense? Anyone any questions about these policies, what these policies are and things like that? Anyone? Any confusion? Any doubt?
Yeah, I have a question, please.
Tell me.
Is the policy being set on the repo, or is being set on each branch?
The policy is set at the branch level right now.
Okay.
We do have policies at the repo level. That is something I'll talk about later. But as of now, whatever I'm saying, it's at the branch level. Now, if you want to push something to the release branch right now, you can push it because there's no policy. Okay, so this is at the branch level. Now, there's one more option called lock. This is a padlock kind of thing which will be placed, which will not allow anyone to push anything to this branch unless this lock is not removed. Now, why do we put such things? Now, in reality, I'll tell you the real scenario. In reality, when we have release cycle, just imagine you have a release. You have a release somewhere on 18th. You have a release, production release. So this current week will be your release cycle, and during this week only the developers will be permitted to push changes into the release branch. That is a real-time scenario I'm talking about. This is what happens in reality when you work with release cycle, like bi-weekly release, monthly release, quarterly release. So 1 week prior and 2 week prior only you are permitted to start pushing changes to your release branch, and that changes will eventually go to your pre-prod environment, that's your stage environment, and on 18th things will go in production. Okay, so during this release only you will have time period to push changes into your release branch. After your production release is done on 18th, from 21 onwards you will have a lock on your release branch, not permitting anyone to push anything to the release branch. That is the policy. So no one can push. Even though developers try to push things to the release branch, they will not be permitted because there will be a locked. The release branch will be locked. So if you want to avoid any unnecessary commits to your release branch, so this is basically will be happening on the release branch only, guys. Okay, so mostly you will find this locking thing on your release branch because there are so many developers and they will tend to push things to the release branch unnecessarily. As per policy, the release branch developer should push changes to the release branch only during the release period, not before it, not after it. So in such cases, if you have any such scenario in your company, in your project, then you can make use of this padlock. Okay, make sense what this padlock is all about? Okay, and there are other things. Branch security, this is something I'll talk about when we talk about permissions and policies. Okay, so this is, just keep it for now, and this is the policy at the branch level. And similarly, if you want to set up some policy at the repository level, then go to the project settings. In your project, left hand side down corner, there is an option of project settings, and if you come down, there is an option of repositories over here. This is your repository, and now at the repository level, if you want to set up policies, these are the few more policies which you can set at the repository level, such as case enforcement, reserve names. If you want some reserve names, you can set those up. Maximum path, maximum file size to push. Now the maximum file size which you can push in Azure is about 5 GB. So the pushes which you can do from your local system to the remote system, it's around 5 GB. Now just imagine, will you allow 5 GB of size to be pushed to your remote repository? And firstly, will you keep your repository, remote repository, of such big size? What are the issues if you keep it for such big size? Cloning becomes one of the headache. If you clone a 5 GB on a daily basis, just imagine the time you're taking to clone the repository. So such big size are not permitted, and if such big pushes should also not be permitted. How do you restrict it? You can restrict it from this section. You can come and restrict the block push size should not more than 10 MB. The maximum you can go till 200 MB. So if the push is of more than 10 MB, then it will not be permitted. If you want to have such restrictions at the repository level, so these are the policies which you can set. Maximum path length, block pushes that introduce paths that exceed the specific length. If you want to specify any length, then you can have. Reserve namings, like suppose you want to reserve the naming like develop, main, release, all this naming convention or all the branch naming. If you want to reserve it, you want to have such things, then you can have reserve naming enabled. So you can learn more about what are the namings which are reserved in this learn more section. Okay, and you can see what are the namings which is reserved. Okay, let's go back. Case enforcements, if you want to avoid case sensitivity, file validation, and commit author email validation. Okay, all these are policies which will be set at repository level. Now we talked about two policies, guys. I talked about policies at the branch level, which is 80 to 90% of time we'll be working on the policy at the branch level itself. But if you want to set things up at the repository level, then this is the place wherein you can come into it. Okay, you can even set up branch policies from here. Basically you can add it and you can have set branch protection policy. Protection is basically if you don't want developers to delete your branch by mistakenly, so you can have branch protection policy. So protect the default branch of each repository, protect current and future branches matching specific pattern. If you want to have something like I want my main branch to be protected, I want my develop branch to be protected, I want my release branch to be protected, I want my feature branch to be protected. Done. This is how you can even come and do this. Did I see dot this way? Okay, this is how you can go and protect your future and current branch, so that if anything is deleted, nothing is like no one can delete your branches unnecessarily. Or you can, if you want to protect your default branch, you can just select this. Okay, and you can select policy at the repository levels. Now over here you can set up required number of reviewers and things like that again, and this will be done at the repository level. This policy which I'm setting up right now, this will be done at the repository level. What is the benefit of doing this? Whatever repository you'll create and whatever default branch will be created in that repository, all these policies will be by default applicable on those branches. Okay, if you are setting it from here. Okay, any questions till now? Anyone? This policy is what you set over here, guys. This will be applicable to all the repository default branch. So this is I've set it for default. This will be applicable to all the repository, any new repositories which you create, and whatever default branch gets created, it will be applicable to every repository. So keep that in mind. This policy which I was setting from here, this is only applicable to these branches and to this repository. And if you go set up policies from the project settings, that will be applicable to all the repository and all the default branches, whatever you create, whatever the current branch is there right now, or whatever you create in future. Okay, I think that's it from Azure Repos. Let me see if there's anything left. All this secure, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about the policy sets, but it's basically on the differences between the fork and the clone, and on what instance do we use the clone versus the fork.
Very good.
Okay. Yeah.
Very good. So this is something we missed it, guys. difference between fork and clone, very good toss, very good question. Okay, before I talk about forking and cloning, anyone has any questions, concerns with the policies and whatever we did till now? Anyone? No questions? Okay, then I want to show you one thing. Remember, whenever we create a repository, a main branch is getting created by default. This is because this setting. If you want to create a develop branch by default, then you can come and make changes over here. Okay, so whatever new repository will be creating, it will be created based out of whatever naming convention you give it. Okay, so just last thing. Okay, now the question is the difference between fork and clone. Clone is nothing but it's a mirroring. Clone is kind of a backup what you take. So when you clone a repository, so you're taking an exact mirror of that repository onto your local system. When I say mirroring, I'm talking about it will have all the files, it will have, along with the files, it will have the history. Everything will be there on your local system. That is what we did right now. Now if you see this, if you open this file, and if you see, it will have the .git file, it will have all the history and everything, it will have as it is. So this is what clone is. So clone is basically you're creating a mirror copy on your local system. In a simple layman term, it's a backup which you have created. Okay, so in which scenario you will be using clone? So this is, cloning will be used in all scenarios, such as if the developer wants to do any sort of development, if the developer wants to do a collaboration and things like that. So in such scenarios, the developer will be cloning the repository, doing the development, then pushing the changes into the remote repository. Okay, that is all about cloning. Now on the other hand, there is an option of fork. What is forking, and what scenario you'll be using the fork? Now if you come down to these three dots, there is an option of fork. Fork is nothing but, if you know the fork, it's a parallel development you want to do without impacting the existing repository. Now imagine there is a developer, he wants to do a parallel development along with the development which is happening right now. He wants to do a parallel development, but he's not sure that whatever development he is doing, what impact it will have to the main branch, what impact it will have to the actual source code. He's not sure right now, but he wants to start a parallel development along with the existing one. Now in such cases, if in such cases, and he does not want to push all the development activity works to the actual branches, because there could be a reciprocal effect that it may impact the development branch. Even though if he's pushing changes to the development branch, it may hamper the development branch, it may corrupt the source code in the development branch. It could be possible. Okay, but he wants to do some kind of POC, okay, wherein he wants to have the complete source code and he wants to do a parallel development. In such cases, this fork can be created. Now when you do a fork, what will happen? A new repository will be created. Altogether, a new repository will be created with the exact source code. Okay, in cloning, there's no new repository or anything as such gets created. It's the same repository which gets cloned on your local. But in fork, when you do a fork, let's do a fork and see it. When you do a fork, do you see this is the name of the repository which is getting created? If you want to give some other name, that's totally up to you, like give something like FORK, okay. In which project do you want to create? I just have one project. If you have multiple other projects, you can do that also, you can select that also. Which all branches do you want? Only the default branch, develop, or you want all branches? So let's see, I just want the default branch and fork. Now do you see at the top, DevSecOps 1 fork? There are two branches. Now if you see this icon, this is a git icon and this is a fork icon, guys. Now if you go this, it will have only one branch, that is develop branch, and it will have all your changes, all your history, and this is a parallel development. Now there are two repositories now. Now if you go and see the repos, there are two repositories got created. One is forked of DevSecOps. So this is what forking means, guys. Now the developer is free. He can go and just clone this again, start working on it and do whatever he wants to do. Okay, this will have no impact on your actual repository, which is right over here. This is
What
what
can it be matched?
yes, it can
Can the fork match with the source?
yes.
Okay.
If you create a pull request now, and do you see this? If you want to merge develop, now suppose you did some kind of activity in your fork branch. I'm in fork branch. Let's update this. Okay, imagine the developer has made some changes to your fork branch. Not permitted policies. See this, guys, again I'm trying to commit. What is the error? Why? Can anyone tell me the reason why this is not permitted? Anyone?
The branch policies we have set it, right?
We have set a branch policy. Okay, let's check that if we have it. No, I don't see any policy.
Lock, I think.
I don't see any policy.
We have it at the repo level.
Yes, that is something. We have the policy at the repo level. See this. Do you see this policy? Remove it. This is what we had. Okay, good. Good, people are attentive. Nice. Done. Commit now. Done. Committed. Create a pull request. Forks source branch. Now you want to merge it with your develop branch. See, we are merging changes with the develop branch. Approve it. Completed. Done. Now if I go back to my other branch, cherry pick one, see this, forking. This is what fork means. Make sense? Difference between clone and fork?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's more safer using the fork while you're working before you push the domain. It's more safer to me right now. Yeah.
Depends. More people do cloning more than forking. Forking is more if you want to try something new parallelly, then you will be using forking. If you're making existing development, then forking will not make any sense. If you want to try something new in parallel with your existing work, then fork will make more sense.
Okay, I have this question.
Tell me.
For instance, I'm working with a company, and we're using probably, let me say, Ansible or Salt for the configuration management for our provisioning and deployment. And we have a specific repo for that. In this situation, I wanted to build, let's say, some servers separately, and I need to test those configuration in my local before I pushed it to the main repo. In this situation, and I don't want to work on the source, the main repo, isn't it more safer to work on the clone? And if everything works okay, then you can merge to the main repo in this situation.
Correct.
Rather than just building an application.
No, so clone is way easier over here. You can just simply clone and create a new temporary branch for yourself. Even when you create a temporary branch, you're not actually making changes to any of your main repos. You're creating a complete different isolation, and you have a different folder. If you create a temporary branch, it's a different folder where your source code are residing, and you test it locally. And if you think everything is good, you merge it with your actual develop branch. If you think there's some issues and you need to rework, then you can simply delete that temporary branch and create one more temporary branch. So cloning will be more easier in that cases.
Okay.
Okay, let me delete the fork branch, because every time it will ask me to when I create a pull request. Okay, so guys, that's it for me. If you have any questions, please do ask me. Tomorrow onwards we'll have a bit of theory. Why bit theory? We need to understand what is Scrum, what is Agile, because this coming couple of days I'll be starting with this work items. You need to know how do you manage your work items. Again, a very important role for a DevOps engineer to play. So we'll spend couple of days. So tomorrow is more about theory. So we'll spend couple of days understanding this work item before we move on to other topics. Okay, that's it. If anyone has any questions, please do let me know, or else we can wind up the call for today. And please make sure I have already shared the assignments in the drive. The assignment is there in the drive, and in the assignments, if you see, there is an assignment for Azure Repos. Kindly go and complete that assignment whenever you get time. Okay, that's it. Anyone has any questions, guys?
Rohit, one question here.
Yeah, Kishore.
As a part of the load balancers, we have 4 load balancers in Azure, right? Application gateway, front door, and CDN.
Correct.
Load balancer and topic. We do use 4 load balancer in real time.
Not exactly. It's up to, again, let's see, application load balancer, gateway load balancer, and all these has its own capability. Okay, so at which level you want to apply the load balancer? Like if you use the basic load balancer, that is at the traffic, wherein at the network layer, wherein it's routing your traffic at the network layer. Now if you have the gateway, that will be applicable at the gateway application, that will be at the very front end at the OSI layer 7, wherein it will distribute the application traffic. Now what exactly is your requirement? And depending upon that, you can have one load balancer, you can have couple of load balancer. Again, it depends upon the project and the application which you're working, and the requirement of the application, and the type of security you want to apply. So this is something you cannot beforehand, you cannot decide for which application which load balancer you will apply. It's up to the business and up to the architect designing the application, designing how it is designed. Based on that, you will be using different types of load balancer. I have seen application wherein we have used combination also, wherein we have used application as well as the network layer load balancer. CDN is nothing but it's a content delivery networking, wherein it is all like if your application is targeting global audience, for example, then at that time you will definitely use CDN, because if your application is hosted in US, how will people from India will have problem accessing your application? It will have latency issue, it will have timeouts, and then multiple, because what's happening, if I'm trying to access your application which is hosted in US, there are so many hops in between. Then till the time I'm reaching your website, my packets are getting dropped and I'm not able to access your application. So in such cases, we'll be using CDN. So CDN is nothing but it's kind of a caching which happens at your local. In India, there will be a CDN wherein your application will be cached to that CDN, and whenever I'm trying to access your application, I'll be using the CDN to access it. Okay, so depending, there are multiple things which we can talk about, scenarios which we can talk about. So answering to your question, we can use combination and we can use single one, and in real time mostly we use combinations, just to answer your question. Okay, makes sense, Kishore?
Yes.
Okay guys, thank you very much. Let's meet tomorrow and let's continue with a new topic, that's work item management. Okay.